Hello everyone, today we're talking to Wayne Vickers, who is a New Zealand landscape artist. He paints in beautiful Mt Maunganui on the Bay of Plenty coast of New Zealand. And man, does this guy live the lifestyle. He's got a fantastic place to paint and a fantastic country to paint. G'day Wayne, how are you?
Hello Andrew.
Good on you mate. Hey, thanks for having us today.
No problem at all.
Awesome. Okay, now today we're going to be talking about painting glazes, and also you're going to be painting a tree.
Yes, we'll do some of that today, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, first of all, to get us inspired, let's have a look at some of Wayne's work. Whereabouts is this painting, Wayne?
This painting's in the Rees Valley in the South Island, New Zealand. It's not too far from Queenstown, and it's so it's up the valley, and we've got a couple of big mountains there, Mount Earnslaw on that side, Mount Clark on that side, and then when I paint a painting, often in the foreground, it's kind of a little bit of artist license there. There weren't three deer there at the time, but but the painting's it's the Rees Valley, South Island.
You'd be lucky to see some deer coming out onto the tussock country down there. You're a hunter yourself, Wayne?
Yes, absolutely. Love the deer. And as a matter of fact, the first time I put deer in one of my paintings. So, but I'm quite happy with them. And it's one thing I've picked up is if you paint something that you're really passionate about, you'll often do it quite well. So I love the outdoors. I love getting out there to these sorts of places, and I love the deer as well. So it's sort of come together quite nicely. Well, it's not finished yet. 3/4 of the way there. We're going to do a little bit more on it today, but you know, at this stage it's looking really good. I'm happy with it.
Talk about artists that have inspired you. Is there some New Zealand artists that you
Yes,
find?
absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty of great New Zealand artists. We've got some great scenery, and you know, there's Jonathan Whyte and Tim Wilson and John Crump, you know, Peter Beatles, you know, they're all great artists, you know, painting our mountains and our lakes and our rivers, bushlands. But
there's a lot of inspiration here in New Zealand, isn't there?
absolutely, everywhere you go there's painting around every corner. That's Liquin we're using there.
Liquin?
Yeah, 1 Newton Liquin. A little bit of titanium white. A little bit of brilliant yellow there. We're just going to paint some mist. Or glaze some mist, or scumble some mist. You can use a variety of methods to do it. Different in what you're trying to achieve. Just brightening up there. The mist coming around the corner there. Well,
What was that word that you used? Scumbling?
scumbling, yeah, scumbling. Dry paint, basically. Well, I think so.
So you're painting wet onto dry.
Yes. But I'm always learning.
You've got a lovely big brush there, Wayne. Tell us about this brush.
This brush here is a badger brush. Badger here, so it's really fine. It's great for doing things like mist, clouds. That one there. Yeah. Pretty worn out, this brush. Still going. And it's great for doing this sort of thing. You can also do the same thing with a hog head brush. I was using that a moment ago. But the mist you can develop mist over several layers like this. You know, you just see me going over stuff that was done when it was wet on wet at the very start of the painting. So most of that mist is wet on wet at the very beginning, and then you can add a little bit to it now, brighten it up in places, create a little bit more. That's all I'm doing now.
Okay, Wayne, what are we going to do now? You're going to be working on this hillside here?
Yeah, right. See, what we're going to do here is I'm not quite happy with this piece of bush there. I'd quite like that to be pushed back a bit further, you see. I just want to, it's too close to this one, I want it back further. So what we can do is we can create a bit of depth, and we can glaze over top of that and hopefully push it back further. So we'll see how it goes. So we're going to use a lot of Liquin, and use a very little bit of titanium white. Maybe a little bit of blue. So we'll see how we go.
So we're just putting Liquin over it now?
Liquin at the moment. It's a very, light glaze. It has to be subtle.
Right.
give it a go.
A very subtle light glaze.
It's very subtle. If you didn't see me doing it, you might not know it's happened, but trust me.
This is where the eye and the feeling of the artist really comes through, isn't it, Wayne? We all know that the further something gets away from the eye, the atmosphere takes the detail out of it and creates a haze. And that's what you're trying to achieve here with this very light, subtle glaze. Is that right?
Exactly right.
You can certainly see now that hillside is actually sitting back a lot further, isn't it? Or maybe it's capturing a little bit more light from that angle, which is...
I'm actually wiping a little bit off now.
Scraping it back.
Scraping it back there. Just look on. Just even
The big badger brush. And just blend it through. Over the top of all the texture and everything.
Absolutely, because we've got all that texture from the quite thick oil paint on there. So we don't want the white sitting in amongst it. There we go. Useful technique. Just have to push it back a little bit. Create a bit more depth.
Yeah, looks great. Looks great.
We just want to bring these trees forward a little bit. And one way we can do that by making them a little bit brighter, darker and brighter. It's already dark. We just want to bring a bit of sunlight in there. And it'll bring them forward and it'll make them stand out a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit.
So we're increasing the contrast?
We are.
Is that what we're doing?
I suppose that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
But up here we've got no sun on these leaves.
Yep.
Sunlight's backlit coming across this way.
Yes.
It's going to catch on each of these leaves. So we'll mix up some paint, we'll get into it.
Okay. You're picking up on the texture rather and putting highlights into the texture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of paint, it's very, very thick.
Yeah.
What are we going to be doing now, Wayne?
Rightio, now we're going to get stuck in and try and finish off this tree. So this tree's right up the front here, but we still want to be able to see through the mountains and the bush in the background. So it's going to be quite spindly, as they are. You can always see through a tree. So we're going to get in there, we're going to mix up some nice darks, and we're going to put some leaves, because it's going to be basically in the shadow, like the rocks there. It's got to be in the shadow like the rocks. So it's going to be mainly dark with some highlights on the outside, like we just done before, but this one's right up in our face. So we'll get in and mix up some colour. Don't overmix your paint. No, because when you mix it up all beautifully nice and mixed, which is good, but when you leave it a little bit unmixed, when you put it on a tree, or in a tree, or you're doing rocks or something, little things happen. And they happen by accident. But they always happen. So is it still an accident? I don't know. But if you leave it slightly unmixed, you put it on, you get slightly variations of colour, which is going to be, it's going to look good.
How important is it to get the right brush for what you're doing, Wayne?
Well, absolutely, but I think a different brush can do the same job.
You can't just you just can't analyse it too deep, just carry on and whatever works.
Pick up another one. Absolutely, just pick up another one. And this is just a hog bristle brush, cheap as chips. And it's a beech tree. And beech trees kind of just have all these little leaves. When they clump up, they actually look like a clump of
You spend a lot of time in the bush, Wayne. Do you observe how trees are structured and what
Yes.
they look like?
Absolutely. I think that's the key. If there was one bit of advice, is paint what you know.
You paint, if you know cars, paint cars. If
That's
you're into
right.
motorcycles, paint motorcycles.
Don't try and paint a tree if you haven't spent a lot of time looking at trees. I've spent hours and hours staring at water, and I still do. Just trying to work out how it works.
Great advice from a great artist. Hey, thanks very much for having us, Wayne. It's been fantastic.
No problem, Andrew.
Cheers.
Thank you.